What's going on, fam? Welcome back to the channel. This is the 1 month review of the Predator Accuracy 0.1 lows, and we are going to get straight into it. I have used these quite a bit. You guys can see all the turf stains on the bottom of these. I have really enjoyed wearing these, and these will be reflective in the score. So without further ado, let's hop into the Soleplate first. Let's do the Soleplate. So the Soleplate is the same as the Predator Edge, the previous generation. You guys know I absolutely hated those boots. The shape of the boot, actually, because of the Soleplate on both models, the Soleplate is actually not bad. The Soleplate is nice. This is the FG model. As you can see, it's quite dirty from a bunch of turf stains, mostly rhomboid and triangular and diamond shaped studs. I know that's kind of confusing and a lot of words. Losing my train of thought a little bit here. But it's a pretty neutral Soleplate. It is quite aggressive laterally. So if that's something you're looking for a little bit more wiggle room there, I would recommend something with conical studs. I know that the AG model of this football boot is just a little bit less aggressive as far as the length of the studs go. So if you're somebody who's looking for a proper conical stud, I'm not sure if they make a conical stud version of this football boot. But for me, this Soleplate is actually really nice. I love the shape of it. I think it's a nice shape. It does a good job gripping into the ground, both in FG and in AG pitches. So for me, this is gonna get a pretty decent rating. It's not as snappy as I'd like it to be. It's a little bit flexible. It's got some nice rigidity through here, through the midfoot area, and sort of the what's that area? Kind of the arch area of the football boot, if you will. But for me, this is gonna get a 7 out of 10. Now let's move on to the heel area. So the heel area, I tend to prefer low cut models. So this is gonna get a little bit of a higher rating than the Plus model, which you guys have probably seen the 1 month review of already. I believe that one's gonna come out before this one. There's a really nice amount of suede heel liner and padding to the inside of this football boot. So for me, the fit and shape of this heel area is really nice. It's just, I got a little bit of slippage in that area, whether it's because there's a little extra volume, maybe a little, the shape's just not quite right for my foot. I got a little bit of slippage. I did hear that the mid-cut model of the laced version, the 0.1, so the 0.1 mid-cut, is a lot better as far as lockdown in the heel area goes. But for me, just for the sake of this video, I'm gonna only be rating this one because this is the only laced model of the Accuracy that I've tried. For me, this is gonna get a 7.5 out of 10, a little bit 0.5 better than that Predator Accuracy Plus, but again, a 7.5 out of 10 because it is a little bit of slippage and not quite as snug as I want it to be. All right, let's talk about the upper of this football boot. This hybrid touch upper is really nice. It is a lot thicker than a lot of other boots on the market, even boots in the same category and competition as this football boot goes. The knit kind of area here is really thin and really nice. It gives you a really nice touch on the ball, really good amount of structure and flexibility to the upper as well, which is sort of an oxymoronic statement, I understand that, but the thickness of this upper it does feel quite plush and very solid, and for me that's a great thing if you're looking for something with a little more of a power boot feel, which is awesome. So for me, this is going to get really top ratings. I really like this high definition grip here on the instep. I think it adds a little bit of sauce to it, and if you guys kind of are understanding of what that means, basically it's got a nice faux leather upper, and it feels really nice, and it's got a great touch on the ball. It's a very solid feeling, but it gives it that little extra something, that little extra spice that you might be looking for if you're looking for a boot with grip on the upper. This definitely is one of the most grippy boots on the market, probably bar none. It's probably the grippiest boot on the market, at least in that instep area. And for me, this upper molds really well to your foot, fits really nicely, has a great touch on the ball. So for me, this is an 8 out of 10. Lockdown of this football boot has been pretty good, I would say. As I mentioned in the heel area portion, there's a little bit of slippage for me in that heel area, whether that's just the shape of my heel or it's the way this how wide this heel area is designed. It gets a little bit of a lower mark on the lockdown just because of that sensation. Basically the rest of it's kind of a weird sensation. So everything from about here all the way through the toe area is super nice, locked in, feels snug, feels ready to go, great for striking the ball, all that stuff. But I found the heel just slipped a little bit. So for me, it's gonna lose some points on that. Overall though, I do think the lockdown of this boot is great. As I mentioned before, I do think that the high cut model would be a little bit more locked in. So I'm curious to maybe try those at some point in the future. just to get a sense of how much more locked in they feel than this football boot, although I do tend to prefer the low cut model. So that's just, the Pred's probably not going to end up in my game rotation at all. It probably won't even end up in my training rotation at all, but I did want to test these out because I do think this is a great Predator now with that hybrid touch upper, and I do think this is a great football boot for a lot of wider foot shapes. So for me, the lockdown of this football boot gets a 7.5 out of 10. Break-in time for this football boot was actually really good. I thought that even with the laces, there was a little bit of hot spot area right here on the outside where my foot is the widest, where my bone kind of juts out. But for the most part, this upper does a fantastic job of breaking in well. The heel area gave me no hot spots despite it slipping a little bit. And so for me, break-in time was actually really good. And I enjoyed wearing these boots. It probably took me about, honestly, like 20 or 30 minutes of, you know, every 10 minutes or so, untying the boots, taking them off, letting my feet breathe a little bit, putting them back on, lacing them up and all that stuff. So for me, this is going to get an 8.5 out of 10 for break-in time. All right, so durability and build quality of this football boot in hand, they actually feel pretty premium. Yes, the upper in some areas does feel a little bit cheap, but once you get your foot on, it's really plush on the inside. It feels really nice. And so for me, that was not, I didn't have any issues with durability, honestly, at all. And I think build quality of this football boot does look really nice. I do think portions of the sole plate look a little cheap. The two-part sole plate does look a little cheap as well. At least in my opinion. You may disagree with me, that's totally fine. But there is literally zero separation of the upper from the sole plate, and there's tons of scuff marks here, as you can see there. Plus, you know, obviously the sole plate's dirty as hell right now. And I have played mostly on AG pitches, and for an FG boot to last this long on AG pitches through rigorous training sessions on the off season, as well as some training sessions in season as well, not with the team, but on my own, and some free kick sessions as well. Honestly, these have been really great. So I'm just going to give, other than it being white and getting dirty, these are going to get top marks. So as far as build quality, actually a little bit of cheapness. So I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10 for durability and build quality. So very good from the Predator. Shape and fit of this boot is fantastic. This is going to be a very short section. As you guys know, I really enjoyed the shape and fit. The break-in time was super easy for me. This fits my foot really nicely. I can hop into this boot really anytime I want now, and it feels really lovely. So for me, this is going to get a 9 out of 10. So competition for this football boot is the Predator Accuracy Pluses. The Tequila, I would say, is in this category of like control, power, control-ish. Phantom GX is definitely a competitor to this, and I would say this one, for me, I would pick this one under the Phantom GX. So it'd be Phantom GX, this one, or Tequila. Tequila's really good in my opinion. I really like that boot. Tequila, and then the Accuracy Plus is at the bottom of this competition list, but this is pretty good. This is probably second place for me in most scenarios. Performance for this football boot has been really good in most scenarios. I think, again, the lockdown slippage and the slippage in that heel area, just, it kind of knocks off a few points for me. But again, you may fit into this football boot perfectly, and that's totally fine. That's the whole point of subjective reviews, right? Is there's objective parts of the boot, right? Like that there's high definition grip on it, or that it's a hybrid touch upper and all that stuff, which is great. But as far as subjective rating goes, this gets a performance rating of 7 out of 10 for me. Not quite the best, not quite what I would want. I want more lockdown in the heel, more snug in the heel area, but that's just for my foot shape. You may fit in that perfectly. So 7.5 out of 10 for a performance rating. Overall, this football boot I think is fantastic. I really like the direction they're going with the Predator. I think it's awesome. I wish it had a thinner heel, but that's just because I'm selfish and I want this boot to fit perfectly. I think it's a really great concept. I really like the way that the sole plate digs into the ground. It's got a great neutral fit and feel, really wide for a lot of foot shapes, and it's going to fit most people, I think. If you've got a thinner foot, especially in that toe box area, you might struggle a little bit with how wide these are, but for the most part, this is a great football boot. So for me, this is going to get an 8 out of 10. Really solid, really enjoy wearing this football boot, and this will be a football boot that I slip into every once in a while moving forward. So if you guys enjoyed that video, and if you guys want more 1-month reviews, let me know down in the comments below which boot you guys want me to do a 1-month review of next. Hit that like button if you got value from it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. As always, be awesome. Take care. I'll see y'all in the next video.